all of the work that needs to be done to kind of scan and to pinpoint where exactly the void is and how you're going to enter it non-invasively, all of that preparation work. When do you see that kind of starting and finishing?
Well, I see it starting a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I saw it starting a couple of years ago. So, for example, we can say we found things that don't work. We found areas where there probably isn't anything. We found things that are interesting and are worth looking at more. So it's the same as ever, is that there's a lot of bits and pieces of work, and then all of a sudden it comes together in one go. I would say that we've got our techniques pretty much, we know what we're doing now. And over the next two missions in October and December is we will test those out and start to narrow in. And then as regarding cavities, it would be a case of then presenting those. We would probably have enough results to present to the authorities and say, this is our estimate of where there are any cavities that are worth accessing. So we're very close to doing it. Again, with technology, you don't know. It's not Hollywood. You can't. It's not. It works every time, and sometimes it's an estimate. But definitely close to doing it. And frankly, I don't want it to drag on too much longer because I've been doing it for 21 years. So I'd like to sort of close this chapter. And if there's anything to be discovered, I'd like to do it over the next 12 months for sure.
And you feel like 2026 is the year when we get into the big void?
Yes, I think as long as we get the permissions to do that, we can work out where to go. We have the technology to do it. So I'm confident about that. But I always have some reservations just because you don't know the situation. Back in 2010, once we got to that stage, we were going to kick on and start doing more. The initial things that we did with Jedi were just the starting point. We could not have predicted the Arab Spring. We could not have predicted what had happened to the politics of the situation. So I'm always I'm optimistic, but I'm also realistic. But one of the things that we excel at is perseverance. So if we don't do it in 2026, we'll do it in the next year. But I'm confident that we could do it in 2026 with permissions, etc.
And so if it is where you think that it is, if it is, if the scan is that you've got and the data that you got is completely accurate and the void is where you think that it is, and I won't hold you to this, but of course, but what do you think the best entry point would be based on what you know right now?
So it would be this Caviglia, the Caviglia tunnel. It's a great space that's already been abused by tomb raiders.
Yeah.
It takes you a certain distance up the back to you sort of turn back on yourself going up towards the Grand Gallery. You're ending up pointing in the right direction. It looks like there could be cavities there that we can make use of. I think it would be that. You still would need to. You've still got to access maybe 8 meters. But if you can get through those 8 meters and you're into a big void, and then we can pop something through it, then I want to be in a position where if we pop something through it and we see a little door, that we can have something crawl towards that door rather than guess what it is. Mm-hmm. When they first put the camera through the north face corridor, they could sort of see things off in the distance, and it was tantalizing because they couldn't look all the way across that space. We want to be able to get through that whatever space it is, and if there's something on the other side of it, also to go through that. But if it's rubble, that would make it more difficult. But if it's a chamber, we just set off and start exploring the chamber.
And so the estimate on it is, you said 4 meters by 4 meters by 40 meters. Mm-hmm. Is that basically the size of the Grand Gallery?
It's a similar length to the Grand Gallery, a little bit wider, I think, and a little bit shorter.
Sure, yeah.
But we don't know because It could be. There's something interesting in the Grand Gallery, which sometimes I think a lot of people would not notice it. But on either side of the Grand Gallery, at possibly about that same sort of height, like 4 meters above the floor level, there is a recessed groove, a few inches maybe, and it's possible. Yeah, so you can see the recessed groove where it's been cut away. If you sort of go from where the cable ducting is, above to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then it's just above there, and you can see somebody has hacked into it at some point to remove whatever was there. You've got to assume that there was something in there that was worth hacking out. So whether that was a false ceiling with stuff above it.
Oh yeah, could be.
And the question is, what was there? So it may be that would also affect any technique that had been used, including, depending on what was there, that could affect any the tomography. And so it's possible that it would just be another space that was like the Grand Gallery with its ceiling at that level. Nobody knows why that was the case. But one thing we want to do is run a radar as well along the top of the Grand Gallery, just to look sort of 3 meters into it, just so that we know exactly how the Grand Gallery terminates. So we've got it's always good to find things in the pyramid where you've got something that you could compare. So, if you've got a shaft on the north side, do you have a shaft on the south side? If you have a shaft in the King's Chamber, do you have shafts in the Queen's Chamber, as Wayman Dixon rightfully thought? So all of these things, it's a little bit like a detective story, where you've got clues and you've got to sort of try and put them together. So we try to use the clues to get as much information as possible. Other people might see clues that we don't see, and I'm always interested in other people's opinion, because I know a lot of people are very sort of selfish about it, but I would rather say, let me have your opinion about it, or what do you feel as though we need to look for? And I do that with people who obviously know what they're talking about. I like to ask them, what do you think we should be looking for? That's how I ended up contacting Jean-Pierre Houdin in the first place. Was he'd got an interesting theory of the internal ramp for creating the pyramid. And I said, I just asked him what was, whether it would be, is there anything we should be looking for while we're shuttling up and down inside these shafts? As it turns out, he said that he didn't really need any information from in the shafts. But through that connection, then obviously we made connections with other organizations and other people. So we're totally open. We're not, in case we give the impression otherwise, we're not sort of like a hidden organization or something. We haven't got anything to hide. I'm always happy to hear from people who either have ideas or think that it's worthwhile collecting particular bits of information. I'm not sure that we can always do it, but I will usually take it on board, and it sort of gives me food for thought for if we are looking at something, for example. So to give you an example, things that we've discovered ourselves that other people might point out, but we've discovered for ourselves. And I think that it's okay to talk about this, because it's not so much of a discovery, because it's known. It's been known about since Pyramid Rover drove up the Queen's Chamber northern shaft. Is there are some stains on the walls of the shaft, which to me look very interesting. So they're probably about 3/4 of the way up the shaft, and they're a unusual sort of purpley brown colour, and it's that sort of observation that makes one think, what does this mean? What might there be locally? And we have our own theories about that. But I suppose my point is, sometimes you just don't notice things because you're busy looking at the next target or whatever. So it's useful always to talk to other people and get as many ideas as possible. And we don't have any we don't have any we don't have any axe to grind. We don't have any theories that we're trying to prove. No narrative. It's just really what is the best scientific and engineering way to find out what is there beyond that. It's not for us to say. Again, it's anybody's guess.
Right.